Good morning, y'all, and welcome to the Hagen Homestead. This is going to be a little bit different of a video. I wanted to sit down and I guess to really know us, you've got to know like the how and the why, right? So we've touched on that a little bit, but I really wanted to dig deeper into that and really really let y'all get to know why we do all of this. So this is going to be a little bit different. If you are looking for meal prepping and gardens and raising animals and all that, this may not be your video. But if you have grown to like our channel, I think you would really learn something about us through this video. I also am allowing myself to be pretty vulnerable through this in order to help somebody. Because I didn't have this help. I didn't have this outlook. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I'm just going to let you know my journey through health and all of that. And hopefully not get too teary-eyed in this. But I do hope this helps somebody. Even if it helps one person, I think it's greatly worth it. If you could bypass all of the crap that I had to go through years past, I think it would be beneficial. So stay tuned. So before we started all of this crazy homesteading life, I guess you would say, I'm gonna give you a little bit of background. My name is Brittany, for those that do not know me. I have always kind of been into health, eating organically, eating healthy. Always had an interest in gardening, working out. Justin kind of had the same thing. He was into bodybuilding for a while. So we already had like that foundation of eating good, or what we thought was good. So I want to talk about a diagnosis that I got. Symptoms started in 2019, but I think I really got my diagnosis, whether it was correct or not, was in 2020. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in 2020. But I'm going to backtrack a little bit and tell y'all like kind of the timeline as to when things happened. So my first symptoms probably started end of 2019, like November-ish, something like that. My first ever symptom was when I would brush my hair, I would get a weird sensation on my scalp, which was almost like when your foot's asleep or you hit your funny bone, it's that tingling feeling. I don't know if I've ever said this, but I am a registered dental hygienist. I've been practicing for well over a decade, but I had left hand weakness, and in my field, I'm a right-handed clinician, so my left hand is used for retracting the cheek, using my mirror, all of that. I had left hand weakness. I had a lot of brain fog, memory loss, and just feeling ill. I also had unexplained weight gain. I've always been a petite woman, never had a weight problem. My weight got up to even like, I think with each one of my kids, I don't think I gained any more than 17 pounds on my small frame. And I had exceeded that when I was ill. I mean, I would go to work and my coworkers would be like, you just look sick. I felt like I had the flu every day of the week. It was horrible. So I went to my PCP and I told them, you know, all the symptoms I was having. They did like a hand strength test where you hold your hands like this, and I think he pulled on these fingers right here to see my hand strength. And then they did x-rays on my neck. I don't think they did them on my hands, but they did them on my neck. And they told me, you know, just take NSAIDs, stress due to your job. You know, you're in a stationary position all the time. You're tugging, you're pulling. Just incorporate more stretching. Did that. Still wasn't able to hold a mirror without like a burning sensation or an aching. My brain fog and chronic fatigue got worse. And like I said, I just felt like I had the flu all the time. I felt horrible. This was probably like the worst I had ever felt. And then they sent me to a neurologist. They did a blood test, and I tested positive for RA with that blood test. I also went through an MRI where there were suspicious lesions, I think, on my brain. So they were trying to rule out MS, but you know, nothing was coming back really standstill. Then they put me through, I forget what it's actually called, but they basically take 3 hole punches of your skin, one like on your hip, next to your knee, and one on your ankle. And they, I believe, test the nerves in that. Results from that, out of the 3 samples that they took, one of them came back positive, showing that I had small fiber neuropathy. And they prescribed me gabapentin and more NSAIDs. Not necessarily what I wanted to do, but y'all, I felt horrible. I was like pulling at straws, and I wasn't as natural as I am now. Having that medical background, I believed in our medical system, and that, you know, they were trying to find cures and be helpful, and, you know, all of these medications were to help me. And since I was feeling so poorly, I started having, I guess, like depression, anxiety. I couldn't do the things that I normally do. I'm normally a go, 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 go type of person. And I just physically could not do it. I mentally could not do it. So then I went to my PCP again. They put me on anti-anxiety medication. I was not sleeping well. They put me on a sleeping medication. So I was like a zombie. I mean, no emotion, wanted to sleep all the time. I had 2 little kids. Thank God for Justin, because he really helped me during that. I don't know how I would have got through without him. Yeah, that was a pretty rough time. I mean, getting down, I remember waking up at night and just crying because my legs hurt so bad. And I couldn't move them. I physically could not move them. We have a 2-story house. I could not get down the stairs. My lab, sorry y'all, I didn't know I'd get this emotional during this video. I wanted to do it to help somebody. But our lab that died this past October, God, I mean, he would help me down the stairs, help me up the stairs. I was in bad shape. I was sick. After I got the blood test results saying I was rheumatoid arthritis, my factor was up, and then the small fiber neuropathy, she sent me to a rheumatologist. I went, you know, we're in Southeast Texas. I didn't want to fool around up here. I felt so bad. I needed results. So I went to Houston, and I saw a practitioner out there. They did another more extensive RA blood test, and my RA factor came back and it was elevated. I was negative for lupus and all other autoimmune conditions. It was just that RA factor that was elevated. So she said that she wanted to start me on yet another medication. She started me on 400 milligrams of hydroxychloroquine or Plaquenil. I took 200 in the morning, 200 in the evening. And then about this time is when the big shutdown happened and the whole world went to poop. So all of these stressors, you know, not feeling good, did not have the energy I have now to cook and do all this. And again, we weren't as natural or as whole eating as we are now. So we relied a lot on convenience foods. Y'all, my kids ate crap. They ate corn dogs and, you know, just chips and junk stuff now that makes me want to vomit. But that's kind of what we were left to. My work shut down. I was not considered essential at that moment. Getting your teeth cleaned was not like an emergency. So I was home with the boys. I did homeschool for 3 small children. I think Gavin was in 3rd grade, I believe, or 2nd. Wyatt was in pre-K, and AP was like 2. So I had various different age groups. There's, limited food you can buy, limited everything. So our diet was not great. Well, with all that time comes, what are you going to do, right? So you start getting on this bandwagon. I felt so horrible. I started practicing yoga again and really saw a difference in my body. So I'm all about listening to your body. So I continued to do that. Had another checkup with my rheumatologist, and, she was just like, how's the medication going? How are you taking it? I said, I'm still aching. I'm still hurting. It's not going great. And so I asked her about diet. She really didn't have a lot to say, y'all. Didn't have a lot to say. She just said, oh, maybe stay away from sugar. I mean, she told me there was really no restrictions. But since my numbers had no improvement and I still felt so horrible, she said continue on the Plaquenil, and then we'll incorporate sulfasalazine, which is another medication. It's often used for autoimmune conditions and then like IBS. I took that. I could not get out of bed. It made me even worse. Even worse. So I immediately stopped it, continued on the Plaquenil. And at this point we were still home. I think I hadn't started back work. The boys were still doing homeschool. And then I went back for another recheck, and she asked me how I was doing. I told her I took myself off the sulfasalazine and I continued on the Plaquenil. She said, well, these are not working. And then let me touch on this. So my highest number for RA factor was a 28. Ideally, you want to be less than 14. I'm on Facebook groups, and a lot of women, it's mostly women that are affected by this. Theirs are like 400 and something. With as bad as I felt, I can only imagine how bad a higher number would have made me. So all that to say, my number was only 28. She wanted to put me on methotrexate. That is like that is super invasive to me. You walk in to a rheumatology office, you walk through this hallway, at least how mine was, and you see everybody doing biologics pretty much. So I told her absolutely not. At this point, I pretty much had enough. I was seeing no improvement. She was not listening to me. I told her I really did not want to do methotrexate. And she goes, so don't. Basically like, I don't know what you want me to do. I went home, probably cried a lot, and just felt lost. And I started getting, more anxious, more down in the dumps. And I started just researching more and more and more and seeing how diet plays a role. I started reading some books, and I'm going to show y'all kind of where I started. This was like the first book that I bought. It's super tiny. It does not touch on a whole bunch. But, I mean, I did get a lot from it. I highlighted or underlined and everything. So, I started with this book, and it really started opening my eyes. Then after that, I started reading Dirty Jeans. This is another great book for all kinds of stuff if y'all have not read it. I started really diving deep into diet. We were still home, and then, that's when I brought home chickens, and Justin had to build a brooder and a coop and all of that. So we were, with that whole shutdown, people started homesteading and all of this. So we were really getting into it. Watching a lot of different YouTube channels. I had always, said like I had done keto. I felt the best on keto, but I really hated to like cut out a whole food group, or I got cut out carbs, because I feel like you do need some, but you don't need a lot. So then I felt great on keto. but still was having inflammation. So then I read the Carnivore Code. That is a great elimination diet, y'all. If you are having any sort of inflammation, chronic inflammation, read that book and do Carnivore. It is a great elimination diet. However, I don't find like it's a great long-term diet. But those really helped me. So once I started reading all of that, wheels really started turning on health. I started seeing the food system for what it was. Started reading labels. All of our food was jam-packed, which is crap. There was a lot of other stuff I learned during that big shutdown and years to follow. I'm sure y'all feel the same way. I'm not really going to get into controversial topics on this video. This is just about my health. I started doing more research and I'm like, why is this Plaquenil not working? Why is it not working? And I was okay taking it at that point because I did think it was, you know, like a safe-ish drug. But y'all, she never told me to take zinc with it. If you are on hydroxychloroquine, think of the zinc as like the little carrier. And it carries that medication where it's supposed to go in your body. Without zinc, and if you're deficient in it, that Plaquenil's not doing squat. That is what I learned. Someone may come on here and prove me wrong. But without zinc, that hydroxychloroquine or Plaquenil is not going to work the way it should. And then we started to grow more of our own food. Expanded our little garden. Our rheumatoid factor, I think after this, yes. So I went back to my rheumatologist. I was still like, I dreaded those appointments because I knew what she was going to say. It did slightly go down with everything I had put into that. I don't know if it was adding the zinc, the cleaner eating, which I'm sure it was a mixture of the two, but I was still feeling bad. I was feeling better, but I was still not feeling good. And my numbers had slightly started to go down. But I was still down in the dumps, still on all these medications. And I just had a breaking point. And I went onto a website. I'll try and put it in the description. I think it's like ifmg.org or something. It's where you find functional practitioners. Where I live, there are none. There are none. And it's sad. But I was able to go on this website and you can read the bios and the philosophies of all of these different practitioners. And I found a functional nutritionist slash like life coach. And I felt like I needed both. I needed life coach to kind of get me through mentally what I was feeling at that point. And then someone to fill in the gaps that that in some areas I probably didn't already know. So I did find one. She was great. She was located more in the Houston area. So I did Zoom with her once a week and we touched on diet, how I was feeling. She made me do a timeline of my whole life. And she really like pinpointed like where a lot of these stressors were that I didn't even know I had. And it all kind of came flooding back at once. I don't really know what set me over the edge, like what pushed me to get such inflammation. It was creeping up, you know, but just to be like wham into a door, I don't know. I can't pinpoint what that breaking point was to where I felt so bad. She went through diet, environmental factors, health risks, and she was like, you're doing everything right. Like she was actually even learning things from me as far as how we raise some of our animals. She just incorporated a few supplements that I still take. And we started talking about medications and I immediately stopped all of my medications. I know, don't do that. I'm not giving medical advice. You're supposed to taper yourself off some of these. This is just what I did. I took myself off of everything except the Plaquenil because she even said that that is considered like a safer drug. And I didn't want to put my whole body in turmoil. So I got off all other medication and really cleaned up my diet, eating whole foods. At this point, I think I was still doing mostly carnivore. Went back to the rheumatologist and my numbers, like we saw a huge difference. And she was baffled. she was like, oh, like what all of a sudden has changed? And she couldn't understand why it changed. Even though I told her about my lifestyle and diet changes, you know, they can't make money off that. Sorry. but they can't. They cannot. And I took it upon myself again to reduce. I did reduce myself off the Plaquenil. I didn't take myself completely off because of fear, y'all. I was scared of going back to where I was years prior. This was all about, for what I've already talked about, this was like a 2-year period. So I had reduced myself to 200 milligrams of the Plaquenil just once a day. And then after 3 months, I took myself off completely. My numbers dropped even more. I started incorporating more things into my diet. Ferments, bone broth. I think at this point, Justin had kind of dabbled in sourdough. We weren't really like super into sourdough yet. Whole foods. At that point, we were doing a lot of raw dairy and no oils besides like coconut oil. I'm big into like no seed oils, sunflower oils, soybean oil, none of that. My energy and my brain fog got better the more fat I incorporated. And then I started to really see a change in my body. I was losing weight in a good way, not a bad way. And my inflammation was drastically going down. And we continued this about 1.5 years. And then recently, if y'all see the video, I think I called it, Will They Get a Vein? I made that video. My RA factor was under 14. Praise the Lord. And after I got that, it was like, I did it. Screw everybody that was trying to put me on all kinds of stuff. I did it myself. I know this may not be the same for everybody, but that to me was like I did it. And so since I got that number back, and I think it was like November, or no, it was beginning of December, because it was, if you remember the video, it was the day the elves came back. It was December 1st. I got blood work. It was a great feeling that I had done it. I had done it. And so now I'm even more strict on my diet because I see what benefit it has done. I do like a 80-20 rule. Now, 80 to 90% of the time I eat great. Now, are there times I'm going to splurge and go out to eat? Yes. I mean, it's going to happen. But even over the last 2 weeks, I've been so strict on my diet and my inflammation's gone down even more. And I feel great. My body feels great. I have no aches and pains. So over that, I guess, 4-year span, my highest RA factor was a 28. It went down to a 24, then to a 21, then to an 18. This is like each time I'm getting blood work, y'all. And then now it's less than 14. It's in the normal range. So, all that being said, I'm here to say it is possible. It is possible. Do your research. Diet does play a huge role. What we're being fed is crap. I don't know. I hope this video helped. I didn't know how to lay it out. I just wanted to sit down on the couch and have a conversation with y'all. I'm kind of having a lazy Friday, so I thought it would be beneficial for somebody. But books or knowledge, and I'll put down each of the books in the description that I talked about. Knowledge is power. That is one thing that the big shutdown showed me, is you got to do your own research. They put us in a place where we had nothing to do but get on the internet. And although I hate technology, the internet is a good tool for certain things. You just have to be mindful of your resources. But if y'all have any questions, maybe something I didn't touch a whole lot on, like I said, this was a different video than what I'm used to, and I felt the need to be a little vulnerable today. Message me. I have no problem talking about it, even though I got kind of blubbery in a few sections. But God is good, and I feel great. And I'm proud to say that we're a clean eating house. Some may think I'm a little neurotic for it. I know a lot of my family's probably like, oh. And, you know, the school where my kids go is probably fit to be tied with me sometimes. But, I mean, I'm living proof that it works. And I hope that helped. I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye.